Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: when did you realize your friends were actually fake friends? Finding out they have an inner circle group chat but I'm the only one not in it. Same. I found out that they had two groups, one with me and one without. They never used the one with me though. For any given social group there will be roughly as many text groups as members of the group, each excluding one person. This is the worst feeling. When I was in my mid-20s, I worked a job where 4 of us had the same position. The 4 of us did everything together. Then I made a mistake, and I apologized for it. But one of them just could not seem to forgive me, and aggressively isolated me from the group. I remember how shitty it was to discover that they had a whole group chat that I wasn't included in, and had done all these social things without me. I've always been lucky to have a lot of friends, and I figured out after a while that these people weren't going to be it for me. So I stepped away from those friendships and invested in my actual friendships. It still makes me mad looking back, though. What was the mistake? When my phone got stolen and I lost their phone numbers. Mine stayed the same, but we just never talked again. Oh number. I think I might have fake relatives. When my Apple account got compromised and I lost my backup when I changed phones, I lost all of my numbers. I haven't gotten a text or call from any of my friends since. That was 5 years ago. I quit going on FB months ago. Only one person reached out to me and asked if everything was okay and how I was doing. That one person is a true friend. I was invited to the bachelorette party for one of the friends in this group. While at the party, I figured out that I was the only person not invited to the wedding. I had been invited to the party because they needed another person to chip in for expenses. What kind of human scum does that? It's amazing what people will do to get what they want because they deserve a perfect wedding experience. Apparently I didn't realize I was on a different tier of friendship with my so-called friend. My friend was getting married and I didn't get an invite, which was fine since her wedding was a destination wedding in a different country. I attended a sleepover party, which she hosted. There was about 9 girls there in total. They kept talking about the kick-ass bachelorette party and then started showing photos of the crazy party. I realized I was the only one not invited. Made me feel kind of crummy. I am a firm believer that you don't talk about a party in front of someone unless they have been invited, or unless you are willing to remedy the situation by extending an invite then and there. I would maintain that the same rules should apply here, even though the party in question already happened. Edit. Also wanted to add, if you're inviting them then and there, you need to make it sound like you really mean it. Be enthusiastic about it. Because the only thing more humiliating than not being invited to the party is when people pull the yeah, you can come too if you want, type of invite. One friend stopped replying to my texts right after we graduated from college. Like the same week we graduated. So I was pretty much just a study buddy that they kept close to keep me helping them. Same thing happened to me. Was friends with so many people during college and the last 3 weeks was an unpaid work placement which we had to go back to the school to hand in our paperwork. Not one of them spoke to me or would even answer me if I said something to them. Became clear that I was only valuable to them when I was helping them. Class awards had me down as most willing to help classmates. Edit. Thank you for the award. Edit 2, OMG thank you all so much for the awards. Never expected this to blow up when I posted. Most willing to help classmates. This is literally a label which gets a lot of friends because it always attracts people. It can be a problem because you are always questioning every person you befriend. It is almost like you have to be extra careful because you are kind and helpful. Such is the world we are in now. The only positive of this is that you can quickly identify fake friends because they drift away without giving a fuck while the real ones stay. I wouldn't say I have fake friends, but I am definitely the periphery friend. The majority of the time if there isn't enough tickets or space in the car for everyone to go do something, I'm the one who gets cut out. It doesn't bother me much, but I wish they would be more mindful when talking to me about things we have done. Remember when we went to see XXX? Wasn't that fun? Well, no, because I wasn't invited. In those situations it usually gets awkward or they say hey, we would have invited you if we had the tickets, space, etc. Preach. Absolute preach. It's a shit feeling. I was recently excluded from a party where my friends got on a bus to go out of town. The friend who had the party said that they didn't invite me because there was not enough space on the bus. I'd rather he told me the truth as to why I wasn't invited in the first place. There were about 70 people on the bus. Edit, to prevent any future confusion, the bus was hired. I mean, at that point, if you're not making the top 70, I think you can say they are not your friends, fake or otherwise. I also experienced this with the friend group I grew up with. There was no single awful event. Just got tired of being on the periphery and being an afterthought, even though when we were actually together you'd swear we were all family. Finally decided to just cut it all out and move on after my absolute closest friend, who I've known since I was 8, handed me a wedding invitation for a wedding that was planned for a year and now it was like 2 weeks away. He tells me hotel is almost fully booked, so call soon if you plan on staying overnight. That was the most I've ever felt like a complete and total afterthought. Went to the wedding for the ceremony in one last show of effort for the friendship, but at this point I felt so uncomfortable and alienated. I knew they just weren't my people anymore and I had to get on without them. Even though when we were actually together you'd swear we were all family. Exactly how it is in my group too. In the moment, things feel awesome, but at the end of the day you realize that you'll always be a periphery friend, which is a shitty feeling. What did you do after you cut ties with them? My best friend since 5th grade invited me to his wedding as a guest. I expected to be a groomsman, since we basically stayed the night at each other's houses every weekend all through high school, and I set him up with his wife. We were still close for long-distance friends too after moving to college. I'd come visit and spend the weekend with him and some mutual friends a few times a year. We did fantasy football and text pretty frequently. At the wedding, the bride and groom each had about 8 people in their parties. The groom had his brother and 7 friends. I didn't make the top 7. I knew pretty much everyone on the bride's side but only knew half of the guys up there with the groom. That opened my eyes a bit. I took a step back and analyzed our friendship after that. Realized I always text first or made plans, always visited him but he never visited me, etc. He basically put in no effort. So I stopped texting for a while, as a test, and I haven't heard from him since. It's been about 11 years. After my divorce. We were couples friends, not individually. Same for me, my ex was crazy abusive and I had proof, and most of our friends took the I'm not taking sides stance. Well, here's the surprise, not taking sides is siding with the abuser. Especially because when they say I'm not taking sides, what they mean is I don't care what your ex did, I'm staying friends with him. Truth. I was very close friend with this guy I met in high school, let's call him John, then he started dating this girl, Caroline. I never really became friends with her but I liked her. We finished high school and lost touch a bit. They married and had a baby, but we still live close to each other, so we would go out eventually with some other friends. So is 2019 I got to know they are going for a divorce and I didn't knew the reason until other friend that was closer to Caroline told me the reason. John was a very shitty abuser. It even got to the point that he pointed a gun to her, said she was a shitty mom and cheated her multiple times with underage girls. John was never this type of guy when we were teenagers, but his father always acted like this and I think he developed this behavior later. Anyway, I don't consider John my friend anymore and he lost almost every friend he used to have. I had to take a side in this situation and not only excuse him from being an asshole as most people do. My wife and I separated and she got the majority of our friends. Almost nobody checked in on me to see how I was doing. Then we decided to work it out and stay together, and now there's a whole list of people's birthdays I don't have to remember. That's an inspiring sentence. Now there's a whole list of people's birthdays I don't have to remember. Thanks. This was quite a few years ago. My ex and I were really friendly with another couple. Did a ton of stuff together. Then they moved, not far, and fairly shortly after my ex and I separated. They hung out with me for a few months but then stopped calling. A few years later, I ran into both of them at a race, an ultramarathon, and they both pretended like they didn't know me. That was actually a really painful moment. I just posted something similar. When I was married we were in a friend group with 3 other couples on our street. My ex cheated and we divorced. The group kept inviting both of us to the same events because they didn't want to pick sides. I moved out of the neighborhood and realized they were proximity friends, not real friends. That hurt. A lot. I've actually come to accept that proximity friends are still a type of friend. A friend for life is a rare thing and it's okay that not every friend you ever make will last forever. The group made plans to meet and hang out. I was getting ready in the salon. A couple of friends had to back out for some reason. The other friend then made excuses of his own, and I could tell. I tried cajoling him and offer ways for him to go, but he basically decided to cancel the entire group meetup. It was my birthday. Same thing happened to me on my 21st birthday. All my friends made up excuses why they couldn't come. Then the 3 friends that did met some guys and we went back to their house and awkwardly sat around. Happened again for my 25th birthday. I had moved across the country and found new friends, but they all bailed at the last minute. I called my roommate at the time who came out when he got off work, and he called some of his friends who came out, and I had the best night ever. Those guys are now my real friends, and I married that roommate. This is extremely heartwarming after reading this thread. Congrats.